Have you ever stopped to think about one single collection of writings that's basically shaped civilizations, inspired just countless works of art, and billions still read it today, millennia later? Well, today, that's what we're doing. We're taking a deep dive into the Bible. And our mission really is to unpack this huge collection. We're drawing from a pretty comprehensive review we managed to get hold of.
That's right. And, for a lot of people, it's purely a religious text. But that's really only scratching the surface. It is, undeniably a massive literary and cultural phenomenon, too. So in this deep dive, we're going to explore its structure, which is quite intricate. We'll look at its origins, how it came together over time. It's just huge influence. And try to understand why it's still so, profoundly significant for so many different people all over the world.
Right. And what you, the listener, should get from this is, hopefully, a clear but still thorough sense of its key parts, its scope, which is, frankly, surprising, and its lasting impact. We want to move beyond maybe the common ideas you might have about it, show its multifaceted nature. Okay, let's get into it. So maybe the best place to start is right at the basics. Something that seems obvious, but maybe isn't always front of mind. The Bible isn't just a book, is it? From one person. It's really a collection of sacred writings.
Yeah.
Why is thinking of it as a collection so important?
Exactly. That word collection is absolutely crucial. It's not semantics. It really changes how you see it. What's really fascinating is that it gathers voices from multiple authors, and not just a few. We're talking prophets, apostles, historians, poets, all contributing over, more than 1,000 years?
1,000 years, wow.
Yeah, so it's not some single decree from one point in time. It's more like an evolving conversation across different cultures, different generations, capturing faith, doubt, struggle, history. It gives it incredible depth.
Like humanity itself was involved in writing it almost.
In a way, yeah. That collaborative time-spanning aspect is unique.
And these different voices, they weren't writing in English originally, obviously. Like Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. The fact it's been translated into so many languages globally is amazing in itself. It speaks volumes.
Absolutely. Those original languages, they reflect different times, different contexts. Hebrew for most of the Old Testament. Aramaic was common in certain periods and places, and then Greek for the New Testament. Each adds a layer. And the translation effort over centuries, it's monumental. It's not just about making it readable, It shows this universal drive to connect with these stories and ideas.
Yeah.
It allows literally billions to engage with what's fundamentally sacred scripture or religious text, spiritual literature, however you frame it. And while, yes, it's the bedrock for Christianity, we can't forget its earlier sections hold immense importance in Judaism, too. So it's foundational for multiple major faiths.
Okay, so it's this huge collection. And it's broadly split into two main parts, which most people have heard of, the Old Testament and the New Testament. But if someone wants to go a bit deeper, what's the basic structure? What defines these two pillars?
Right. So the Old Testament, think of it as the foundational library. It sets the stage. It charts the story of God's relationship with humanity, focusing particularly on ancient Israel. It covers so much ground, starting right from the creation of the world, then moving through the history of Israel, all the key events, laws, covenants.
So it's history, law.
Yes, and more. You've got the Pentateuch, the first 5 books with core laws and creation stories. Then historical books telling these epic sagas of nations, kings, battles. Then there's poetry and wisdom literature like Psalms, Proverbs, beautiful, profound reflections on life, worship, suffering.
Right, the Psalms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, the prophetic books. Powerful messages calling for justice, warnings, visions of what's to come. It's incredibly comprehensive.
Okay, so that sets a huge stage. Then we move into the New Testament. The focus shifts quite dramatically there, doesn't it? This part zeroes in on the life, teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And then how Christianity spread out afterwards through his apostles. How does that build on the Old Testament?
It's seen as a crucial progression or fulfillment by Christians. The New Testament documents what believers see as the arrival of the Messiah promised in the Old Testament. It starts with the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Different angles on Jesus' life and ministry, his teachings, which were pre-radical, and his death and resurrection.
4 perspectives on the same core event.
Precisely. Then you get the Acts of the Apostles. That book chronicles the explosive early growth of the Christian church, often facing huge opposition. It's quite dramatic.
Yeah.
After Acts, you have the epistles. These are essentially letters written by apostles like Paul to the early Christian communities. They offer theological explanations, moral guidance, practical advice for living out the faith.
So guidance for the new churches.
Exactly. And then it wraps up with Revelation, a very different kind of book, full of vivid, symbolic, apocalyptic visions about the end times and ultimate hope. But what's really striking when you look at both testaments together is the sheer variety. It's not just one style. You find history, poetry, laws, prophecies, teachings, and moral lessons all intertwined.
It's a mix of everything.
It really is. And that rich tapestry of genres, I think, is part of why it speaks to so many facets of human experience. It's not just theology or history, it's literature, it's life.
That's a great segue, because the Bible isn't only a religious text, even though that's its primary identity for many. It's also recognized as a major work of literature, a point you often hear in academic circles. How does that literary quality affect its wider influence?
Oh, immensely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, its literary and cultural weight is just undeniable, quite apart from personal belief. Think about it. It has inspired countless works of art, music, philosophy, and literature for centuries.
Like Michelangelo, Handel.
Exactly. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, Handel's Messiah, major literary figures like Shakespeare, Milton, Tolstoy, their work is steeped in biblical narratives and language. Philosophers too, Augustine, Kant, Kierkegaard, they all engage deeply with its ideas.
So its influence is just woven into Western culture.
Absolutely. And beyond, increasingly. Its stories, metaphors, archetypes, they're embedded in our languages, our legal concepts, our ethical debates. Even if you've never cracked it open, you're constantly bumping into its echoes in idioms, movies, political speeches. It's pervasive.
And it's not always the big, epic stories that have the most impact, is it? Sometimes it's the smaller pieces. The review mentions its stories, parables, and verses convey deep spiritual truths and moral guidance. These often resonate personally.
That's so true. The parables especially, they are just masterful literary devices, simple, relatable stories on the surface, but designed to make you think about complex, ethical, or spiritual points.
Like the Good Samaritan.
Perfect example. They're memorable, they provoke thought, and they often leave you, the reader, to figure out the application to your own life. And through all these different forms, stories, poems, laws, letters, it consistently communicates these really universal messages of faith, love, forgiveness, and hope.
Universal messages.
Yeah, these aren't exclusive to one group. They tap into fundamental human needs and aspirations. That's why they resonate across cultures, across centuries. They offer comfort, they challenge us, they give direction. That universality is key to its endurance.
So, okay, we've painted this picture of its incredible scope, its literary power, its foundational role, but any honest deep dive needs to look at the whole picture. Our review highlighted strengths, yes, but also some, let's say, inherent challenges. What are the big strengths that make it so powerful?
Well, the review summarized them nicely. First, it clearly provides spiritual wisdom and guidance. For billions, that's its core function. A moral compass, answers to life's big questions. Second, it's incredibly rich in history, culture, and poetry. It's a window into the ancient world, a treasure trove of literary forms.
We talked about that.
Right. Third, those universal messages of faith, love, forgiveness, and hope we just discussed, that cross-cultural resonance is a huge strength. And finally, just the fact that it's been so influential across the world for centuries, that track record is unparalleled, really. It speaks for itself.
That's a compelling list. Hard to argue with those. But what about the other side? The challenges? Because let's be honest, picking it up can feel intimidating.
Indeed. And the review doesn't shy away from that. It acknowledges real challenges. For example, it points out the complex language in some translations.
Yeah, the King James Version, for instance.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but tough going sometimes.
Exactly. While poetic, the archaic language can be a barrier. Even modern translations struggle sometimes to convey ancient nuances perfectly, and maybe the most common challenge. It's lengthy and sometimes difficult to understand without guidance. It is. It's not a novel you just read cover to cover easily. The sheer size, the mix of genres, the ancient cultural contexts, the deep theology. It often requires real effort. Study, historical background, maybe discussion with others, thoughtful interpretation.
So the challenges aren't necessarily flaws, but more like reflections of its depth.
That's a great way to put it. This isn't meant as a criticism or a recognition of what it is. These challenges are kind of inherent in a text this old, this complex, this significant. And actually, that complexity is why people do study it so intensely. It raises an important question, though.
Which is?
How do you approach a work like this to really get something out of it, given those challenges?
Right. So what does this all mean for someone wanting to engage? Whether they're seeking spiritual insight or they're interested in literature or history? It suggests you need to approach it maybe not as a quick read, but as more of a journey. It takes patience. Maybe finding some good guidance, a study guide, a knowledgeable group, a good commentary, and just being aware that it's complex, it's layered, there's a process of discovery.
Well said. It's about respecting its depth.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up our deep dive today. We've explored the Bible, seeing it not just as one book, but this vast, diverse collection. Multiple authors, spanning ages, forming the bedrock for major world religions, and its undeniable impact as world literature shaping art, music, philosophy, language itself. It's really a monument to the human search for meaning.
Absolutely. And that review's conclusion really nails it, I think. The Bible is more than just a book. It is a source of faith, comfort, and inspiration for billions of people. It genuinely offers these timeless lessons about life, morality, and the relationship between God and humanity. Lessons that still hit home, still challenge us today.
And despite all the complexities, different interpretations, the challenges we noted, that comprehensive review gave it a perfect 55 rating. Here's like a final thought. What does that perfect rating suggest? About its core value, its power to connect with our deepest questions, no matter our background. Think about how a text this ancient, this vast, from cultures so different from ours, continues to offer lessons that might feel profoundly relevant for you right here, right now. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.